crazy phenomenon happens when you start saying yes to what's important, you start getting out the no's where they should go, you have this different trajectory. And it may feel like you're cutting yourself out of success and, oh, well, now I'm not going to have that opportunity, or they're going to look at me different. But your confidence and your energy change so much that it's hard for people to turn away from that.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford. And this is We're Doing This Right? Podcast for the whole woman, mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with a beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in.
Right.
Oh my God, she's singing again. She's
Right.
back. She's back and she's singing.
I'm back.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you? Nice and tan from, did I say it right?
Yeah, Punta Cana.
Okay.
I just was in Dominican Republic for 5-6 days, which was gorgeous. Davida and I just celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary, which is in July, but this is going to air in August. So it's like gone back in time here. But it was awesome. And I was telling you before, it was so great. We extended it an extra day, and that was awesome. But then that extra day was the day that you and I always talk about, like the comeback
recovery
reset day.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not have that. So here I am. We got back at 2 a.m. last night. We got home. All 3 kids of my kids were awake. And I was just like, oh my God, what are you guys still doing awake? They were so excited, so cute. But and I was like, oh my God, now I have to put you to bed, blah, 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 whatever. But we had a fabulous time. Highly, highly recommend everybody going there. It was great.
Wonderful. Well, we're not alone. We have a very incredible human here today. I'd like everybody to meet Angie Wisdom. Say hello, Angie.
Hello. Now you got me wanting to go on vacation.
Oh my God, you have to. You have to go. It was amazing. It was so good.
It sounds like it. And happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was so fab. It was really great for us to do. We hadn't done a one-on-one trip like this in a long time, and it was so important, I think, for us, for our marriage, for everybody involved. I think it was fab. Awesome. So let's tell everybody who Angie is before we just start talking to her.
Yeah, let me tell you guys about Angie. Angie is a mindset expert, speaker, and the author of the Non-Negotiable You, Mindset Mastery for Daily Success, and Start With You, the Morning Mindset Journal. With over 25 years of experience and clients ranging from Fortune 500 companies to thriving entrepreneurs, she helps high achievers align their mindset with their values to create intentional, fulfilling lives. As the host of the Sharing Wisdom podcast and a certified master coach, Angie inspires individuals to unlock their potential and scale their impact while living worry-free and purpose-driven. Her mission is to guide leaders to clarity, confidence, and extraordinary success. Sign me up.
Wow. Love that for us. Give us that. How do we get that?
We're going to talk about it today, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So Angie, Cheryl has had the honor and the privilege to listen to you speak before, but I have not. And I'm so excited to have you here with us today and kind of chatting with us. But I would love, and we say this to everybody, Cheryl did your 2-second bio, 3-second bio, but tell us a little bit more about you, about what you do, kind of how I'm very interested to know how you got to what you're doing. How does one get there? How did that happen? And kind of take the floor, because we are just in awe of you and everything that you do.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you all for having me here. I'm super excited. I'm so passionate. I mean, Cheryl, you've been on calls with me and in the room with me when I'm speaking, so you know how deep my passion runs for helping people transform their lives. Gosh, I'm in California and I've been married 28 years, have 2 boys that are 19 and 21. So past that kids in the bed phase that you all were talking about, right? And it's the journey to get here. I mean, oddly enough, when I was back in high school, I thought I wanted to be a therapist, psychologist, did some peer counseling, totally went in a totally opposite direction, ended up in finance, and eventually found out that through my development in the financial world that I really loved helping people with who they were and success instead of just growing their money. And I found myself in a position personally as I was successful as a financial advisor back in Morgan Stanley in 1997 that I was hitting walls. I was getting burnout. I was not fulfilled. I was crossing days off of my calendar like I was serving a prison sentence. What is going on? Like, I was 22 years old. I'm like, how can I already be like, when's Friday happening? When's the next vacation? And that was really like this siren moment for me that was like, something isn't right. I shouldn't be living like this, which prompted me to go into personal development, figure out my own stuff first. And then I unlocked so many things that I started helping other advisors. And that really kind of where my coaching career took off. And I just became obsessed with helping people realize that their true power was within them, who they were, how they valued themselves, the relationship they had with themselves. And that really all of this kind of grinding away and self-sacrificing was not the path to success.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's amazing. That was pretty early on for you then. Like that usually that revelation doesn't usually happen for a lot of people till probably much too late.
Later.
Like,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Much later in life. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I started working at like 12. So, I was at Chick-fil-A at 12 years old and I never stopped working. When I was going to college, I worked 3 jobs at a time. So I was very independent and driven. So my 22 was probably like a 32.
Isn't that interesting? Cheryl, did you work in high school and college?
I started working at 15, played sports, worked.
Okay.
I've never stopped except for maternity leave.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting when we start to the more we talk to entrepreneurs and people like that. And Angie, I'm sure like, my parents owned a business, so I started working the day I could sit up. And it's really interesting to see that burnout feeling happens earlier for us people who started working when we were, when there were no child labor laws.
Well, when you say working now, that's funny because my dad owned his own business and I was filing from like 10 years old, alphabetizing, filing because before computers and
oh my God,
like we had jobs. If we missed school, we'd go clean dad's office and paid labor.
Yeah. It's the mindset around it, right? Because when you start that young, I know my stepfather had a sanitation company, so it was like licking stamps on the bills, and when you start that young, they're usually the motivation is you're making money, right? Or you're helping your family or something. Yeah. So work becomes this kind of like means to an end and this necessity to get ahead and to earn and to prove yourself. And that is really what makes that path become one of like, what is this all for? Why am I doing this? And it's not great. It doesn't feel good. So I think some people don't always start that way. And so the burnout doesn't necessarily show up like that earlier. I think it's all the reason behind it. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm listening to this through line between the 3 of us where we all had entrepreneurs for parents. And that's interesting as well. I hadn't considered that being a factor in choosing a path that I've chosen or that you guys have chosen.
Yeah, I would say, I'll course correct that for a second. I would not say I was influenced as an entrepreneur by any means. He had a sanitation company, but that's a whole nother episode, girls. But my mom was like, she cut hair in our kitchen. She was a bartender. She was a travel agent, so I was just shown early that you can work and make money. And you just don't stop working. You just work, and you will make the money, and then you can have what you want within reason. So I was very early trained that like you got to get out there and you got to work to make your money and divide the stuff that you want.
And what are you coaching now? Because from my experience, probably a little bit the opposite of like set boundaries and take time for rest and take care of the whole thing.
That was my first big shift was going, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to give everything to everybody else until I am empty. I am supposed to have boundaries. This is healthy. And so that's the first thing I walk clients through is like, okay, well, what do you value? Because you have to know what you value in order to know what you say yes to and what you say no to. Most people say yes to things because they can, which doesn't mean that you should. So understanding like, what do you value? That gets a yes. If you don't value it, then it gets a no. So having those boundaries set up early and knowing that when you give to yourself, when you take care of yourself, you actually increase your potential exponentially. And most people think it's a selfish thing to take care of yourself. Like it's a luxury, but so far from that. I mean, that's one of the first mindset shifts that my clients make.
And how do
I
you
think we're
practice that?
also, I was going to
Because
say, I think we're also taught really early on to say yes to everything because that's how you get ahead, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't turn down an opportunity. You say yes, you stay late. If your boss wants you to stay late, you stay late. If your client needs X, Y, and Z, you do it, right? Because that's how you get ahead. That's like the way you get ahead. And like without getting too, we love men, okay? We love men on this show. We love men, but those are all things that men have, society is set up so men could do because there was somebody home doing the other things, right? And then, as a woman, when you're trying to like get into this business, you have to say yes, but it is at the sacrifice of all of those other life things that you also want to be doing. So I think obviously what you do is very needed because you're very successful at what you do. And I can like, already I'm like, God, man, I say yes to too much. And I am
Yeah.
guilty of this.
And
It's so hard.
it's diving into like why the yes, like why are you really saying yes? And
Yeah.
sometimes it does feel like it's very much in alignment with what you want, and other times it feels like what you should do, but that doesn't mean it's in alignment either. And you really can. I mean, a crazy phenomenon happens when you start saying yes to what's important. You start giving out the no's where they should go. You have this different trajectory. And it may feel like you're cutting yourself out of success and, oh, well, now I'm not going to have that opportunity or they're going to look at me different. But your confidence and your energy change so much that it's hard for people to turn away from that. And you're accepted on a much different level. And it's almost like that you kind of have to leap and trust that you're going to land where you need to, because there isn't this kind of set space of, okay, well, if I say no, then I'm definitely going to feel better and get this confidence and get that promotion. So you have to trust that, but everything changes within your aura, your energy, your confidence, your worth. And that is what people just feel being in a room with you. They feel it through your words. And I think that becomes so much more powerful than the doing, that people are checking boxes next to their name. Well, she did stay late. She did say yes to this. Yeah, those are
God.
things and doings, but it doesn't affect your energy.
Yeah, I'm
I
thinking
love
as you
that.
say this, like the living in alignment, like think about when you're in flow and when you're doing things you love, it's like you do go out and you become a magnet to other people.
Hmm.
When I was in commercial
Yes.
insurance doing outside cold calls all the time, on the days where I just felt ugh, like the reaction and the response I got from everybody was matched. It was
Right.
negative. It was like, we're not interested. No thanks. And I'm like, I was really just phoning it in. And on the days in that role where I was excited and shifted my mindset to, okay, my job here today is to make a connection, and then the business will follow after I make a connection. I love
Hmm.
making connections. That's in alignment with who I am. So I would walk in and I'd be this magnet where people wanted to work with me and they wanted to hear what I had to say. And I wasn't just shoot out the door. So it's like, it is super powerful. Do you do any human design stuff? Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it, and I know mine. I don't dig too much into it. I'll look at it from a sales perspective. Somebody had once told me before it's really interesting from sales. So I look at it from that as far as like how you put yourself out there and how people connect to what you have to offer. But
Hmm.
that's about it. I mean, I'm such a fan of the Enneagram and understanding your strengths.
Hmm.
And
Ooh.
yeah, that's kind of my wheelhouse. But I'm a manifesting generator. So yes, I
Same.
do know some things about it. And it's very much energetic, right? And being able to
Yeah.
offer what you offer when the time is right and when you're energetically aligned. And I think people just discount that a lot. And if you think about it, go back to that other example, you're like, well, I should do this because then, they're going to think that I am worth it. Then they're going to give me the promotion. Then I'm going to get the chance. All of that's scarcity driven, right? So
Right.
we're just putting
Yes.
out this scarcity type of energy and this neediness that is really more repelling than it is attracting.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there's so many different words you could use for that, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's the scarcity, it's also like somebody who's
Fear.
like a try hard, like you're just those people who are always like
Right.
you're like chill out, you're a little bit desperate, or like people will talk about
Hmm.
like having sales breath,
Oh, commission
like people
breath.
who are like
Yes.
commission breath, they're just like so like you feel
Yes.
that when you talk to them versus somebody who's like willing to say no or has an abundance mindset or is willing to be like, no, that's not really for me. It doesn't align with my values. You do feel differently about that person. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
like it
Like,
just
oh,
changes the
it's like
whole,
that hard to
yeah, the
get,
whole, yeah,
Exactly.
yes,
That's what I was going
a
to say
little
is
bit.
like, if you'll
But
work with everybody, then like what makes my clients special? But if I'm selective about the clients that I work with and I'm as much interviewing them in our intake meeting as they're interviewing me, then they're being interviewed and they're going to show up
right.
as so. And
Wow.
also like the biggest thing I got from being the manifesting generator, if you would, was like what I'm excited about gets other people excited. And so just
Mhm.
showing up and being excited is really enough to like make the
yeah,
universe work how I want it to work. And then also paying
Right.
to like the natural way, like if you don't have, if you're not looking at your list of values per se, but you like are leaning in when somebody's got an idea, like pay attention to that lean because that is telling you, or like the lean away, or you're feeling just a little, oh, like those are things where we can like, our body's telling us what's in alignment with us and what we want to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Angie,
true.
what's your Enneagram? I want to
I
know.
am,
What is that?
yeah, I'm
What,
a challenger and helper. Pretty tied.
what is that? What are those what are what's the
Oh,
number
two
on
and an
that?
eight. Sorry. Two,
Oh,
two,
you're a
eight
two and an
tied.
eight.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
My
So,
seven, I'm tied 7 and 8. So that's enthusiast and challenger. And then a
yes.
very strong helper. But they say the helper is because we're women. And that's how
They
we
do
were
say that that
conditioned.
sometimes pops up. Definitely not for me. I was wired as a helper. I grew up with an alcoholic mother. So when you grow up in a space where you don't feel like you necessarily get the attention, the nurturing that you need, you always are like, what can I do to earn it? Right. So
Yes.
that's where you get
Yep.
into that people pleasing space. So that was a big, I showed up much more as a helper a long time ago. That was some of the first work that I did. I was always independent, Chick-fil-A, 12 years old, right? I was
Yeah.
always had
Yep.
that challenger independence, but also this need of like, I need to be loved. I need to be appreciated. I need to be valued. I need to be wanted. And definitely not a healthy people pleaser years and years and years ago.
Yeah. I'm a three. I don't know what my other
Mm,
one is, but I'm so hard a three.
achiever.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, it is embarrassing. I'm like, oh, that's so right on for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, when you talk about this, we've talked about this with lots of things. Like, it's so interesting about how your childhood shapes those different parts of you and those different parts of like, you talk about the people pleasing, and even on this trip that I just went on with my husband, like I'm like a pretty strong person. I'm very independent and can do whatever I want. I achieve all these different things or whatever. And he said something to me while we were there in the nicest way. He's like, you don't have to try so hard. And I was like, go. And then
Yeah.
it like hit me that like I do try so hard all the time, like with my clients, with my kids, with my husband, with my people, like with, everything. And it was like that moment where where you get to step away and you get to like look at stuff. And I was like, why'd you say
Yeah.
that to me? It was so real. Like, why'd you do that? But it is because, I grew up in a family where like I was, it wasn't great. And so there was always trying hard to kind of like prove that you wanted love or prove that you were good enough for something or X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah. You
And
had
it's
to
so
achieve to be
interesting.
seen. Hmm.
Absolutely. And I don't think anybody in my family would have said that, like, but
Sure.
that's definitely how it felt, right? Like
Right.
you have to
Right.
do those things. It's just so interesting when we really like dive into these things, because it is very easy to just be like, I'm an adult. I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing the things this is just how I am. And then you get a coach like you who's like, okay, but like, why?
Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
like, why are you doing that?
Most people
And
stick with
what's
their
the purpose?
wiring. Yeah, we stick
Yeah,
with our
yeah.
wiring. We think it's like this permanent imprint. How we grew up, yes, it 100% shapes you, but it's also changeable. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
stay with that same programming. And most people, I mean, I'll talk to people who are, you know, late 40s, even in their 50s, and they're like, wait, what? I don't still have to operate like that. I can change that whole mentality, choose the thoughts to show up differently. It's like, yeah, it's like mind blowing for
Yeah.
some people and totally like changing.
So I'm
Yeah.
reading some of the things you're passionate about. And one of the things you like to help your clients with is helping them experience joy, purpose, and a sustainable path forward. So what I'm like,
Mm.
as I'm listening to Colleen, you talk about how like you're always trying and the effort that must take. And like, is
It's
that
exhausting.
sustainable? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Angie, can you talk a little bit about how you work with your clients to get them to joy, purpose, and sustainable living?
Absolutely. I mean, that sustainable part is so key because otherwise, like Colleen was saying, right, most people are like, okay, well, I have to get to this destination and that means
Yeah.
something, then I'll be worthy, then I'll be successful. And what happens is like when you get there, you're really not any different, right? Now there's just the next marker, the next finish line that you're chasing. And so the isn't sustainable, right? The achievement
Right.
isn't sustainable. You end up in that place with lack of joy. So really it's about going, well, being here in the present moment, enjoying the journey. So when we understand what our values are, we can proactively fill up on those and experience joy. When we understand how to be in the present moment and we're not always looking forward and we're not looking backward, then we're here to experience the moment. And that's where the stress goes away. It's where the worry disappears and you can truly just be present, engaged in all your senses. And that's pure joy. No matter what is going on in your life, if you can focus right here, right now on what's going on, you will find joy because the present moment is just this one moment in time where all that could happen and all that did happen doesn't exist. And that's true
Right.
peace and joy. But the majority of the time, everyone's always like, well, what do I have to do 5 minutes from now? What do I have to do a day from now, weeks
Yeah.
from now, months from now? What if this happens? Where are we? When are we going to retire? Everything's forward looking. And
Yeah.
that will rob
What's
you of your
next?
joy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had
All
a
the
I mean,
time.
therapist that gave me this mantra: in this moment, everything is fine. Everything is okay in this moment.
Yes.
And like when I was in an anxiety spiral, or I'm also the child of an alcoholic and an addict. And like, so it's really this place you grow up waiting for the other shoe to drop constantly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's coming next? What's the next big crisis? Where's that coming from? And that is an exhausting cycle to be living in. It was just constantly like,
For sure.
something terrible is looming over you. So then coming back to like right now, like literally, if I know that something terrible is coming, because however, like, a terminal illness in the family or something you have to look forward to, but if you can
mhm.
come back and right now everything's okay, then it is a very powerful way to come back and enjoy where you are. Like even like when I
It
went
is.
last spring and visited my uncle who has since passed away because he was terminally ill, I got to go there and just be there with him and enjoy him in that time. Like I knew it was coming,
Mm-hmm.
but by being
Mhm.
just there and hearing his stories and like seeing that he was feeling well in the moment, and like, that was great. There definitely was then hard times ahead, but like if I had spent that week there thinking about the fact that he was dying the entire time, I would not have enjoyed my trip. But by being there and
Right.
just engaging with where we were in that exact moment, I was able to have a really meaningful and wonderful time that wasn't robbed by anxiety.
Yeah, and that energy, I'm sure, was felt by him, right? And impacted him as well. The future is fine to go into when it's purposeful. When we need to go
Mhm.
in there to plan, to strategize, to, you know, kind of assess potential risks temporarily, fine. But it's like you have to have a purpose and an intention to go into the future and then come right back to the present moment because it's also where we're most powerful, right? When we're in the present moment, we don't have anything else kind of taking up our cognitive bandwidth and our capacity. So everything that you are gifted with, everything that you are capable of is at its highest power. But when we're in that
Mm.
future sense of worrying and we try to problem solve, we're showing up with less than what we could if we were just in that present moment.
And as you say that,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like what a powerful imagery of like I only have power today right now with the choices I'm
Yeah.
making. Like this is the only moment that I have power. I don't have power over the future. I can't sit here today and change something in the future. I can only work today on the things that are in front of me, knowing like the roadmap and the guardrails of where I'm trying to go. That's where that future planning comes in. But like, I can't affect tomorrow. I can only affect right now. And what I do right now
Mm,
will affect tomorrow, but I can't move those chess pieces tomorrow. I can only move them right
yeah.
now.
And you will be
Wow.
Cheryl, it
differently
was a
equipped,
Right.
right?
yeah, it's similar conversation we had today earlier, Cheryl, about like the things that you do today affect your business 90 days from now, but you only have the control over the now, right? Like the things that you're doing right now, not what's going to come in those 90 days. But as you're all talking about this, it really is, Angie, when you're talking about like, it's like an energy suck, right? Like if you're constantly thinking about, what's going to happen next, what's the next thing, there is a whole part of you that can't be in the in present time, right? Like in the present with you. Like you just don't have that capacity. Like there's no way to be fully present if you're constantly like, and I think this happens specifically to women and specifically to women who have children, where it's like you're sitting there trying to like run a board meeting or close a big deal, and you're like, what time is soccer practice? What do I have to make for dinner? What do I have to do the thing? Like what else is like that's really challenging. How do you coach to that, right? Because there are parts we have to be thinking about some of those things all the time. So like, how do you help your clients with handling those kinds of things?
Yeah. And again, that's kind of like purposely. Yeah. You have to look at, well, when is it appropriate for me to go into that future? It's one thing to go in there again, purposely and intentionally to figure out what you want to do and then come back. But it's another to just wander, right? Wander and worry about it. And so we always have to go, I'll tell my clients like, well, whatever you want to think about, if it's not here in the present moment, whatever you want to think about, decide when you're going to think about it, how long you're going to give yourself to think about it, and what's the purpose of it. So if you want to think about dinner, fine. Like I plan my meals for the week, right? Because I don't want to just randomly think about it sometime. If you have to figure out a carpool for your kids or snacks or whatever it's going to be, well, when do you do that? And it sounds kind of crazy because you need to like allocate time for that. But when you're busy, when you're a mom and you're doing the kid thing and the work thing and all this stuff, we do have to compartmentalize and give ourselves dedicated time to think about those things. Otherwise, it'll pull you away from what you're trying to intentionally do. And that energy is felt too. I mean, I'm sure both of you have had conversations with people before where you're like, they're not even here with me, are they? They're not listening right now. You can tell they're somewhere else. And it's like, that's just a big energy disconnect. And, we have to protect our space to not do that, especially when you're dealing with clients and board meetings and all those kind of things. So I'll often tell my clients, do a brain dump. Before you're going into something big and you really want to be present and intentional, you write down every little thing that is on your mind that you can be guaranteed that you've got a list and it's protected and you can tend to it afterwards. So that way your mind knows, hey, we don't have to think about these things. We already wrote them down. And I can be 100% intentional here. There's different kind of processes of our brain. And when you can engage your prefrontal cortex and say, hey, we're in this meeting and we're going to be focused and we're going to try to get this client to do this. We've got an agenda. And being able to do that because you wrote everything else down is a huge, kind of tool to use to stay present and focused.
One of my uncles was a VP for General Motors, and so his mind was always everywhere. Like his job was to go into plants and improve them. Like he'd go into the broken one and his job was to fix it. And he would wake up in the middle of the night with the ideas, and he always had a notebook next to his bed so that he could write it down and then he could relax and go back to sleep. So I had that modeled from such a young age of doing that. And I do feel like when I feel out of control, one of the most powerful things I can do is make a list or make a spreadsheet and like get the plan, get everything down, get the plan. And then I can come back to like, okay, now what can I tick off? Like, what can I do in this present? And that's one of the most powerful things in my life is like, stop, write it down. What's happening? What needs to be done? Get it out. Because then I can focus again. Such a good tool.
You were at the event, Cheryl, when I was talking about the sloth, right? That's the default mode network in our brain. And it just ruminates, and spins all of those things that are on our to-do list or the worries or the current concerns. And it just circulates them. I always say it's like your thoughts are like clothes in a dryer and they're just like looping through and it's so hard to process. So to dump them all out on a piece of paper and to write them down, it's like now you have the capacity to go, okay, what do I want to think about? What do I want to zone in on? What do I want to do with this? But if it's all in there spinning around, it's so challenging. That's where that overwhelm comes from, because how do you even have the space to think about something when you have all those other thoughts, right?
Well, tell us how your tool, the mindset journal, plays into this.
Gosh, there's so many different pieces to that. But in the work that I do, I think one of the most powerful things, two things that you can do for yourself is have a relationship with yourself and control your mind. And the morning mindset journal, I developed it from that standpoint. How do I teach somebody to have a relationship with themselves where they learn to love themselves, trust themselves, and guide themselves? And also the neuroscience behind how do we get your brain engaged in choosing the thoughts that you want, in it being abundant, optimistic, right? Driving what you want instead of being a victim to whatever pops into your mind, the fear, the worry, the lack, all of those things. And so each part of that journal takes you through a different section, and I don't know how much you want to go into it, but the first one, for example, it asks you how you feel. The first question, I feel, and you fill in the blank. The reason we do that is to create self-awareness. As soon as you state how you feel, it opens up the opportunity for you to do something about it. So Cheryl, you just said a second ago, as soon as I feel overwhelmed, the first thing I do is write a list. Right? So you already know, you sense that feeling, it's a self-awareness, then you empower yourself to do something about it. Write a list. And that second question is, what do you want to do about it? What's your adjustment? If people just did that alone, to recognize as soon as they feel something, they had the power to change it, that by itself would make a 20% difference in their life. Just that alone, because we walk around getting stuck, feeling the way that we feel. Oh, I feel tired today, so this is what it is. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It's just been a bad day. Nothing's going my way. And you pretty much just create your whole day from that mindset. So just understanding that tweak is huge.
Those people are exhausting. I work with some of those people who are like that, right? So not only do it for yourself, but do it for everybody else that has to work with you, because it is
take one for the team.
Take one for the team and write it down, because it is.
Yeah.
It is exhausting, and I bet it's exhausting to feel that way all the time.
For
right?
sure.
If you're just carrying that around and you can't make those decisions to change, or don't know how to facilitate that change. Okay, that is
a lot of
so
people
great. So
don't.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's why they need to buy your journal immediately. Everybody, go buy it if you don't have one. But what else is in the journal? Because I haven't seen it. I want to know.
We hope you enjoyed part 1 of this discussion. We'll see you next week when we wrap it up with part 2.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth. And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way. Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us. And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business. Remember, we're doing this right.